and you are ready to take some notes, because I am going to cover quite a bit of material and lots of useful stuff. Also, as I said, make sure your microphone's on mute. There is a chat session that you can use to ask questions. You're welcome to pop any questions in that you need to, but I'm going to answer questions at the end. Arch, can I ask if you are able to either sit down or keep still or something or other, as it keeps going to you, taking me off until I start sharing the screen, and then it's going to be fine. Cool, thank you. So tonight what I'm going to do is go through with you the different types of goals that there are, how the mind works, what holds you back from achieving your goals, and then show you how you can create the life that you'd really like to have. So I've set goals for as long as I can remember. And I remember at the end of the year, New Year's Eve, my highlight was actually ticking off what I'd achieved and then making my list for the following year. And I've done that since I was about 16. Sounds pretty sad, but it's what I did and it's what I love to do. Now, I have not always achieved the goals that I've set myself. And I recently found out why I wasn't achieving them. And I really wanted to share this information with all of you and anyone I basically could, because it's really changed my life. You see, I'd got to a point in my business where I actually felt like a fly buzzing up against the window. And it didn't matter how much I tried, I could not get through. I couldn't break through where I was. And I needed to find something different, something that was going to work, like another window or a door. And I've actually found that, an alternative route. And I'm going to share that with you a little bit later on. So I've been teaching my coaching clients how to set goals, and each year my children set goals with me as well. And it was actually on reflecting on my 6-year-old little Lucy's goals, which prompted me to create this webinar. The reason being is that Lucy had one of the goals on her list that she hadn't actually completed, and she was determined to make it happen. She was so persistent. With only a few days to go, she wanted to make sure that she got that goal ticked off. And why? So the human being is actually a goal-seeking organism. And when you were an infant, you had goals and you attracted whatever assistance you required to achieve that goal. You had persistence. Growth and change were the order of the day. And from the moment you drew your first breath, you were there, you were aiming to eat, to crawl, to talk, to walk, to run, and all of it took lots of effort on your part. But you were a proud young goal achiever, and each of your accomplishments brought with them a great deal of joy for a number of people in your life. So back then we didn't have the fears that we have now, okay, around our goals. But why do we actually set goals? So a goal achiever literally becomes a really productive person. They frequently accomplish more in one year by setting goals than most individuals can do in an entire lifetime. It's all a choice. And an effective goal will inspire you and make you grow. Now, I'm not saying that every goal I've set myself I've achieved. I certainly haven't, as I said. But I constantly revisit my goals, and I know that each step allows me to grow as a person into who I'd like to become. And it's always a really important thing to reflect, as well as to see what you've achieved and how much you've actually grown. So think about that for yourself for 2016, as we're 3 days into 2017. What have you actually achieved throughout 2016? What have you done well? Where can you improve? So what I'm going to ask you to do is just take a couple of moments now to reflect. I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes on those things. What have you done well, and what can you improve on? Okay, so it is amazing how much you can get down in a short period of time, but I really encourage you, if you're still going with your list, have that as something that you go back to. Really reflect on what you have achieved, because too often we actually focus on the things that we haven't achieved, when actually there's been lots of little things along the way that we've done really well. So look at what your wins are. Research studies actually shown that by setting goals yourself out and actually writing them down, you've got more of a chance of actually achieving them. So we're going to go through the goal setting this evening. So traditionally, I've helped people with the process of using SMART goals. And I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see this picture. I'm one of those people that's got 50 million things open. So can you all see that? Can I get a thumbs up? There or not? Beautiful. Thanks, Sally. Okay, so traditionally we're using the SMART goals. Okay, so for those of you who haven't heard of them before, I'm going to give you a quick overview. So SMART's actually an acronym, and it's for specific, measurable, agreed upon, realistic, and time-based. And I've got a little example down here below, just from a food point of view, because it's something that we can all relate to. So a specific goal would be, I'm going to eat fruit between meals instead of biscuits. A measurable goal that actually helps you see what your progress is. So to use the example above, I will eat at least 3 portions of fruit every day. Achievable. So you're much more likely to keep goals that are achievable. Small goals equal progress, and once you achieve them, you gradually build up to a main goal. So, you might be starting with a fruit, but you might want to lose up to less fat, less sugar, all these mini goals along the way. Okay, something that's actually relevant, something that the goal should be relevant to you. You're the expert on what you like, what you need, what you want. So choose goals that are going to work for you, and then something that's time specific. So set yourself a time scale for achieving your goal. And if you're changing habits of a lifetime, this will take time. So allow yourself weeks rather than days to say, I'm going to swap over. Okay. Another example I've had just popped down here was that you want to go to the gym. And you want to go twice a week, and you've chosen the place that you want to go. So, for example, Get Active Gym. And you're not a morning person, but you need to do one of them. So instead of doing 2 mornings a week where you know that you're not going to achieve one of them, break it up and do 1 early morning and 1 evening a week. Okay? So I'm just going to leave that there so you can see it. So these are great. And the majority of the goals that have been set in the past by me have been SMART goals. However, if any of you have set goals in the past that are around food, you're not going to know, and I know that this is in me, that there's something inside of you that is going to reach for that biscuit instead of the fruit. And you're going to self-sabotage your goal. And sometimes you can even do that on the day you've made the goal. I'm guilty of that one. And I'm going to share with you basically later the reasons why this occurs. And it's also why New Year's resolutions typically don't last more than 21 days. We self-sabotage ourselves based on our programming. But first, I'm actually going to share with you another way of setting goals. And this is the way of looking at goals. It was part of a course that I did earlier this year with Bob Proctor, who's one of the main people in The Secret. Whether you've seen the book or read the book or seen the movie. But he's been studying how the mind works for over 55 years. And this is just not something that's taught in schools. And as a teacher, I would love to share this with students. And it is stuff that I'm teaching my kids because it is incredibly relevant. But his programs actually teach you how to create the results in your life that you really want. And if you'd like to find more about the Thinking to Results program, just PM me or give me a call and we can set up a time to do that. But let's get into how Bob talks about goals. So if you're all, I have to move my notes because I want to make sure you guys don't miss out on anything here. So there's 3 types of goals, according to Bob. There is our first type A goal. Now these are present results, something that you already know how to do. So this could be like if you've bought a new car before, say you've had a Prado, and you're going to go out and buy another one. If you've done this before, it's not a real goal because you already know how to do it, and it's not actually going to make you grow. It can still be a SMART goal, but all of Bob's reasoning behind setting goals is actually about making you grow as a person. So the type B goals are what you think you can do. So this is where you collect all your research, you have a plan, and if all of these things fall into place and you do this and somebody does that, then you'll achieve it. But realistically, there's no inspiration with type B goals, and people get bored here and quit. So the type C goals is basically this has blown my mind around goal setting. This is actually finding out what you really want as a person. If you know how to reach this type of goal, then it's the wrong goal. This is a goal to really stretch you. Most people actually don't know what they really want. So you need to spend some time doing this, okay? And you need to imagine and fantasize here. Now, I don't know if any of you guys on the call are like me, but fantasy and imagination went out the window many years ago, and I just use one side of my brain that's analytical, logical, and that doesn't happen. So I found this, quite a tricky thing to do to start with, but it's because I've been conditioned, and we've all been conditioned as children at school not to dream or use our imagination. We always remember the kids in the classroom that are daydreaming, that are told to get back on task, get back on their work. It's all about filling the cup of knowledge, but actually not learning how our mind works. So these type C goals come from our fantasies, and they're originated through effective use of our imagination. So an area of our brain that many of us just don't use. So the fun's actually in finding out how you're going to get to this type C goal and what you really want. So this is the type of goal that should scare and excite you. If it doesn't scare or excite you, it's not a C-type goal. So can you all see that one there? Set a goal to achieve something that is so big, so exhilarating that it excites and scares you at the same time. Now, when I read this quote, it reminded me of going on my first overseas holiday. I was about, I think, 2021, going to the UK for the first time. My girlfriend was over there teaching, and I was determined to go travelling. I'd been saving, and, off I went. I was petrified on that plane. I mean, petrified. I kept going through my bag, making sure I could touch my passport, know where my purse was. I had sweaty palms. I kept checking in with the guy beside me, making sure I was okay, knowing what the time was. I was petrified. But you know what? My goal was to travel, and it was so much bigger than what I was. So, if you can think of yourself some C-type goals that you've achieved, I know some of you on the call have definitely done that in your lives now and, projected and created that. So what I'm going to get you to do right now is just sit and think about some things that you really want. Not things that you think you should do, not things that you think that your partner wants you to do. I remember a quote that Bob talked about was, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me that my husband thinks I should be, not the me that my kids think I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. Okay? And that's actually really internalizing and going in and finding out, what does Sally want? What does Arch want? What does Deirdre want? What does Mel want? What does Faye want? What is it that you really, really want? So I want to give you a moment now, just if there's anything at the forefront of your mind, just to write down a couple of things and then come back to this as well in the next couple of days, because it's something you need to relax and just let your imagination wander, because you are capable of doing anything. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes now just to see if anything comes up for you there. Okay, so this really gets you thinking, doesn't it, about what it is that you really want. Is it more time? Is it more freedom? More money? A change in career? And I'd suggest that you take a bit of time over the next couple of days and continually add to that list. Just have it as a piece of paper, whether it's sitting in the living room, on your beside your bed, anything pops up for you, just keep adding it to the list. And what you're doing is raising your conscious awareness. And when you decide on the thing on the list that you want more than anything else, then that becomes the star that you're shooting for. That becomes your C-type goal. So a little bit earlier, I shared with you all about Lucy's goals. So Lucy wrote these goals. Well, I wrote these goals actually. She was 5 last year when she wanted, and we were moving schools. And so these were the things that were important to her. So she wanted to make friends easily, wanted to learn how to ride a bike, how to read books, people to be nice to me. Wouldn't it be great if life was so simple? Great goals to have. Learn how to cook, knit, bead and plait, swim without a life jacket, see grandma regularly, have a nice sports teacher and learn how to shear a sheep. So just throwing it out there. We don't have any, anyway. So having a look at these, an A-type goal, something she knew how to do was to be able to see grandma. Okay, so that was an A-type goal. It wasn't going to stretch her at all, apart from tell us that she wants to see grandma more. B-type goal was something that she wanted to learn how to cook, knit, bead and plait. That was something that she needed to just gather some resources, ask some questions and be able to implement that. The other things, the C-type goals, were things that she did not know how to do. So she did not know how to swim without a life jacket. She didn't know how to ride a bike. She'd seen brothers and sisters do it. And the other thing she didn't know how to do was shear a sheep. Now, shearing the sheep was the thing that was on her list that had not been completed. Adding persistence into that though, and mum, dad hasn't organised for the sheep to be shorn yet. I really want to shear a sheep. It just continued. And, you know, that childlike persistence and knowing what they want is what we almost need to get back to. So consider that as a child, what really the things that you fantasized and wanted to do. That's what you need to get back to having a look at. So what's actually possible for you? And really the answer is anything that your mind can think of. Sounds crazy, right? I know for me, when I heard that with my logical, analytical brain, really? But we've all got infinite potential and that we haven't even tapped into it because we don't know how to use our mind like it's meant to be used. I reckon we're using a couple of percent, if that, if we're not accessing our fantasies and imaginations and being creative. You know, so look at what was achieved from the invention of the aeroplane, from 2 bicycle mechanics being able to get an aeroplane into the sky for the first time was 12 seconds. Now look at what we can do now with flight. But over 66 years, they managed to land a man on the moon from flying a plane. So a human being really is incredible. And the same creative state should and can be entered into by anyone and enjoyed every day in your life just by setting yourself a C-type goal. So before we get into setting some of these goals, I'm actually going to show you how the mind works. And I think that this is really going to help you understand goal setting and how to make the best use of it. So what I'm going to do is just get you to close your eyes for a moment. And what I want you to do is bring up the image of a lemon. A nice, beautiful, bright yellow lemon. Okay, now what I'd like you to do in your mind is bring up what your front door looks like, where the door handle is and what colour it is. Open the door handle and I'd like you to walk from your front door into your kitchen. Now for some of you this might take a little while, for others you might step right into your kitchen. Who's able to see the lemon in their mind? Just raise a hand. Yeah? Who's able to see their front door? Yeah? No? Go into their kitchen? Okay. If I ask you now to bring up an image of your mind, what do you see? Do you see your brain? I know when I was asked this, I didn't see anything. because no one has actually ever seen the mind before. The mind is what thinks in pictures, which is why when we close our eyes and we picture what a lemon looks like or what our front door looks like, that's when our mind thinks in pictures. Now, some of you may struggle with this if you're not able to see in pictures, and it's something you may need to practice. I know I found it really tricky to start with. And some people, it's just second nature. But with the mind thinking in pictures, it's why the vision boarding is so fabulous, why you have all these pictures of where you want to go with your C-type goals and things. But I'm going to cover vision boarding another time, okay? What I'm going to share, as I said, is how the mind works. So the stick figure would have to be one of the most weirdest, silliest, but enlightening things I've ever seen. And it's a really great representation as to how our mind works. And I'm sharing it with you so you can find out which part of your mind you need to impress that C-type goal in. So the mind in this picture is much larger than the body, and there's a reason for that. Because up until now, we've given all of our awareness and attention to our physical body and our physical results. Everything in our life is an expression of our mind and comes through our body, which is the instrument of the mind. And basically the body just carries out the action that the mind tells it to do. So as you can see in the drawing, the mind is divided into two parts. You've got the conscious mind and you've got the subconscious mind. Now the conscious mind is your thinking mind. This is what you rely on your senses of sight, taste, touch, hearing and smell. And we can choose our thoughts here because our conscious mind can choose to accept or reject ideas. The second part of our subconscious mind is actually our emotional mind, our feeling mind. Our subconscious mind is actually our power central, and it functions every cell of your body. This is the part of the mind where we store, our memories, our habits, our conditioned beliefs, and our self-image. Our subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between positive or negative results. It will do whatever we tell it to do. So when we originate thoughts in our conscious mind up here, setting goals, and impress them then onto our subconscious mind by becoming emotionally involved with these thoughts, this causes feelings, which causes actions, which causes results. So this is why it's so important to choose your thoughts. So if you can consciously imagine yourself, I am sure all of us on the call have had go through in our mind, I can't afford it. Has anyone not had that one? I grew up with that impressed on my mind. I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, from my parents. So then whenever I go shopping for something, I have impressed in my mind the first thing that would come up of, I can't afford it. Didn't matter if I actually had the money or not. I would still be saying I can't afford it or looking for the specials. So in my conscious mind, I actually had to change just what I was thinking about to, I can afford it. Remembering that our subconscious can't tell the difference between what's positive or negative. So understanding means that we can choose to focus on what we want by what we think about, rather than what we don't want. Because if you look at the results that are in your life right now, that's a result of the thoughts that you are thinking in your mind. What we think about comes about. So the next little bit, understanding now what types of goals there are and how the mind works. Now, I don't expect you to understand this diagram straight away. It's something I would suggest you go over and over and over, and you can just Google it on YouTube, or I can go over it with you. I've listened to it so many times to impress on my mind, because that's how our mind works, is through repetition. But the next bit I'm going to share with you is what changed my life earlier this year, and it's finding out when I'd set goals, why wouldn't I achieve them? I'm going to leave the stick figure up there just for you guys to keep looking at it. So who hasn't achieved a goal that they've set themselves? Can't be just me. What stops you achieving these goals? Paradigms. It's a P word. Paradigms are the reason why. They're what get you to eat the hot chips or the biscuits instead of having the piece of fruit. So what is a paradigm? Paradigms are mental programs that have almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior. And almost all of your behavior is habitual. They're your habits, and that's what's controlled by your subconscious. So you'll all have habits. And again, being with a partner, you'll either love their habits or hate their habits. And a paradigm is what we leave in control. So it's like our operating system on what our mental processes run. And they can be either positive or negative. So if your paradigms are positive, you're going to have a happy, growth-orientated life, a healthy self-image, and the ability to adapt successfully to change, upsets, and unforeseen events. Conversely, negative paradigms can keep you stuck in old ways of thinking and can be really limiting, and they keep you imprisoned in the mind and you don't even know. So that's what I was talking about, where I couldn't get through. I had all this resistance blocking me, and I knew that it wasn't that I didn't have the knowledge, but I had a habit that wasn't allowing me to move forward in my life, and I needed to create a new one. I needed to reprogram my brain. So let me just move into the top. Before I do, a paradigm that I like to share is my husband is always late. Now that's driven me insane over a long time. But it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. That's just his habit. But my habit happens to be that I like to be on time. I've been programmed to be on time. So, for us, we both have to kind of have a bit of give and take in those paradigms. It's not about who's better, than the other, but knowing that they are just paradigms. So the next is a great little picture of moving on from the stick figure. It's showing you how the mind controls your body, and your body controls your actions and then your results. So if you want your results to change, these things down here, you have to change what's in your mind. So remember here, we've got the conscious. This is where we get to choose, where we can come up with ideas and whether we can accept or reject things. In our subconscious, we must accept anything that's fed into it. We can't reject it, whether it's positive or negative, and we can't determine the difference between that which is real or what's imagined. So consciously, when you choose your type C goal, the thing that you really, really want to do and you've got no idea how you're going to get there, that's what you want to impress into your subconscious, with either seeing pictures of it or feelings of what your life's going to be like when you achieve that goal. And it takes repetition and discipline every day to form a new paradigm. Okay, so say, for example, my husband James decides he's going to change his paradigm of no longer being late. And he declares it and says, this is what I'm going to do. Tell me, do you think that he's going to manage to switch over that habit like that? Probably not, okay? So what the human mind tends to do is say, I'm going to do that, and then 2 days in, stuff up, become late, and then go, see, I can't do it. But what you need to do is say, right, I've done 2 days. Great. I'm going to make it my goal to see if I can not be late for 3 days and increase that, because what you're trying to do is create a new habit. Replace the old paradigm with a new paradigm through repetition and discipline. So it's important to realize that any thought that you consciously or unconsciously impress upon that subconscious can become the fixed state, can become the new habit, can become the new paradigm, which means your actions will change and your results in your life will change. So where do the ideas of our paradigms come from? We inherited them from genetically, but environmental conditioning, that has the biggest impact. So you could have a child that has been born in America, taken over to China and grows up, doesn't have any understanding of America. It's just what they've been exposed to in their environment. And we get the same thing. Like I said to you, I grew up in an environment of learning I can't afford it. Whereas if I'd learned, grown up in an environment of you can afford it, you can have anything you want, you can achieve this, you can do that, you can run your own business, there's a lot more expansive ideas rather than things that you can't do. Okay, so particularly if you have your own children, I really encourage you to look at all the things, your language as well as to your programming and what you're teaching your children, because it's the environment that they're growing up in that you're just passing on your same programming. So that you've got from your parents, that's got from them grandparents, and perhaps you've never questioned it, or perhaps you have and you're choosing to do things a different way. So as I said, I encourage you all to do a little bit of research around paradigms, start increasing your awareness around your own habits and the paradigms that are holding you back in your life, because these are the things that will hold you back from achieving your goals. So an action here is you develop or choose your attitude, and there's no one that can change that for you. Only you can do that. Your attitude becomes your steering mechanism, and the way it's set determines your direction. So your thoughts being positive or your thoughts being negative, you get to control that. You get to control the thoughts that you have. So in considering that, I'm going to get us to move into choosing some goals and looking at how do you decide what it is that you want. If you're like me, I need to have things sort of spread out over about a week and just write things down as they come up for me and then collate it all. It's just the way that I've worked. Others, might be able to pop things down. So just take all the time that you need within the next exercise. One of my coaches shared this with me, and I found it it's been brilliant. And this is all about designing the life that you want. It's called the magic wand. So let's turn over my next page. What you get to do, you can pretend that if you've got your pen in your hand, that it's your magic wand, and you get to create the life that you want. Money's no limit. There are no limits. Okay? So be creative. This is your choice to choose what you like. So in a relationship, whether you are in one or not, look at what would be an ideal relationship for you. Whether it's someone that you're coming home to your partner and they've prepared a meal for you, or they've cleaned a house, or it's loving, it's caring, it's nurturing, there's lots of hugs, you feel loved. What does that ideal relationship look like for you? And these are the 9 areas. And if you find that there's not an area in there, you can add it in. It's entirely up to you. It's flexible. Your square doesn't have to be exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is just give you 5 minutes now. What I want you to do is just jot something down for each of those. Now, they can be goals, they can be ideals. And, give you that time to do that now. And I will put these things up on the events page or send them through to you if you want. We can take a screenshot, whatever works. Okay, so I'll keep going on that. Come back to that. You can use the list of wants that we started with earlier in the presentation, and you can just write your list of wants and then put it in those categories or whatever works for you. But it really is about you creating the life that you'd actually want, okay? And you can choose your C-type goal from this list or from the one that you keep adding to. And when you're choosing your C-type goal, the only prerequisite is that you must, be able to see yourself on the screen of your mind, already in the possession of that goal. And you must seriously want it and be able to feel it. So I'm going to repeat that. The only prerequisite you must have for your C-type goal is that you can see yourself on the screen of your mind, already in the possession of that goal, and you must seriously want it and be able to feel it. Feeling it and seeing it is key. Remember that your mind sees in pictures. So to get your goal impressed onto your subconscious mind, you need to be focusing on it every day, visualizing it and feeling it. And again, there'll be a paradigm for some of you that will be like, oh, I'll do that for one day and then forget about it. You might do it for a couple of days, but it's about the repetition and discipline. So be kind to yourself, just get 30 days and do a couple of crosses, put a circle if you miss it, and just keep going with crosses and just seeing if you can just improve each time, not being hard on yourself. The next thing I'm going to give you, and this is a thing that I think's been a game changer as well in setting goals, is that you actually write it on a card. Just like this. And so, I don't know if I've got my bag in here. So what I want you to do is you write that goal that you end up choosing. Now, this isn't something that I sat down, and managed to come out and sort out with after about half an hour. This was a process of time that, I managed to write down all the things I wanted to do and then what I wanted to achieve and, what was the thing that was the most important to me. Okay, so you may have got something along the lines of, I'll just use an example. By June 2017, I'm so happy and grateful now that my annual income is my monthly income. Okay, that's something that you want to be saying, you want to focus on. The idea of being and saying, I am so happy and grateful now that, is that you see yourself and feel by June 2017, what it's going to feel like to have an annual income as your monthly income. What are you going to look like as a person? How's it going to feel like when you've got that money in your bank account? What are the things that you're going to be able to do? So they're the type of things that you start really exploring and imagining and fantasizing about with your C-type goal, so that right now in the present, you can imagine yourself as the person that you're going to become and have it now. So in my purse, I have, for me, I've heard people, guys in particular, they carry it in their wallet or in their back pocket. I've popped in my purse, my goal, and I have actually just made up a little plastic pocket where I've popped my credit card in there. And whenever I go out and I'm shopping and I'm picking it up, I'm looking at it and having to focus on it. So I've got a personal goal and a business goal. The other thing I found was, particularly when the kids are on school holidays and I'm up at the farm and I'm not going shopping, I'm not looking at my credit card as much, I've ended up putting my goals, 2 little cards, personal and my business, and I've stuck them on my computer. So that whenever I'm on my computer, I'm just noticing near where my hands are, they're my goals. Okay, so it's really about focusing on them. So they're the things, particularly, the changes in paradigm, that really made massive game changer for me. So we've really covered a huge amount of material here in the space of about 45 minutes. And I really wanted to help all of you set up, your year to be the best one yet. And I really believe this information is key and critical in being able to do that. So just recapping on what we've covered, we've looked at the purpose of goals being to grow. We've looked at SMART goals, the traditional way of setting goals. And we've looked at there's type A goals, B goals, and C goals. C goals is the one. C goals. I haven't heard it sound like that. Sounds like a bird. C goals. We've looked at how the mind works, what are paradigms and how they hold you back from getting what you want in life, setting goals, and then the magic wand exercise. And what I'm going to do is I'll post the diagrams, the goal card, and I'm hoping that I've recorded this. I'm looking at it thinking, I don't think it's recorded. And if it hasn't, I'll just redo it and pop it up. So you can go back over it. And if you'd like to find more about the program, the coaching program that I'm doing, the Thinking to Results, just PM me or contact me and we can set up, have a coffee or a time, and I can share a little bit more about that with you. But look, really thank you so much, all of you, for your time this evening. It's been really wonderful to be able to share this video. I love this information. I know how it can change people's lives. I'm going to leave this quote with you, and then I'm going to open up to questions for you as well. So keep the goal constantly in front of you. Know that you have infinite power to bring about anything you want to achieve in your life. You can do it. You're all capable of doing it. So thank you. So I've just noticed that a question has come back up on the chat. Oh, great. Thanks, Jerry. And if you just want to unmute yourselves and you can ask any questions, ask me to go back over anything to clarify anything, really happy to do so.
Hi, Rach. No questions from me. I just wanted to say that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. As you know, I've covered a lot of that sort of information, but it's really good to just see it all in a nice, simple presentation. So, fantastic.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you. Now, some of you might be feeling really bombarded in the head too, though. So, and if you haven't got any questions, that's perfectly fine as well. I think I've lost a couple of you on there. No, that's good. Great. So if there's no more questions, I'll finish up. If you do want to stay on the line and ask me anything, if you want to be comfortable, feel free to do that. Otherwise, yeah, have a great evening.
Cool. Thanks, Rach.
No worries, Arch.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, Rach. That was awesome.
Awesome. Please.
Did a good job.
Cool. No worries. Hope you got something out of it.
Yeah, I did. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Couldn't stop you. You're still recording too.
Okay.
It did record.
Brilliant. Okay.